Can you believe that God knows you and approves of you? Can you believe that? In Jeremiah 1:5, God said to Jeremiah, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you and approved of you as my chosen instrument." The same message God had for Jeremiah, he has for you. God called Jeremiah to be a prophet before he was even born. This means that God was not looking at Jeremiah's talents or abilities or any skills that he may have developed over his lifetime before God made a decision to say, "I want him." Likewise, whatever God has called you to do, He did it before you were born. He made that decision independent of anything you would do, independent of any education you would receive, any certificate, any award, anything, any skills you would have acquired. God chose you independent of all those things. We were formed with God's plans and abilities at birth. God knew everything Jeremiah would ever do, right or wrong, and he knew every mistake that Jeremiah would make, but God still chose Jeremiah. Galatians 1:15 says, Paul was set aside by God. If you know Paul's story, Paul persecuted the Christians before he was saved. And it reads, "But when God, who set me apart from my mother's womb and called me by his grace, was pleased to reveal his son to me so that I might preach him among the Gentiles, my immediate response was not to consult any human being. God set him aside while he was in his mother's womb." Paul was an enemy of God. He was an enemy. But when Paul was still his mother's womb, God said, "That's the person I'm going to use to spread the gospel to the Gentiles." Even though Paul was born, he grew up, but he was persecuting Christians. That plan God had for Paul did not change. It did not change. So don't let your past determine your future. Never disqualify yourself for what God has called you to do. Never disqualify yourself. God doesn't choose us because of our perfection, because if it were up to be perfected, none of us would ever be chosen. He did not. He chose us before we were born. And all you have to do is be willing to allow Him to work through you and for you to work with Him. That's all He wants, just for you to be willing and obedient. Amen. God knows everything there is to know about you. Everything, all those deep, dark secrets that we don't want anyone to know. God knows it all. And He still wants to be in a relationship with you. With you. Yes, with you. And you know what? You know better than anybody else the things you've done, the thoughts you've had. I know I've had some thoughts that I'm not very proud of. You know, you know the things you've done, you know the thoughts you've had. But God, He's not looking at those things. He is not looking at those things at all. So don't you look at those things. Just accept that God knows you. Just accept that. Just let the knowledge of God knowing you give you confidence that you are chosen and accepted by God. So don't look at your past. Don't even look at the things you're doing right now. You know, just know that God chose you to be in a relationship with Him and He loves you with an everlasting love. Amen. Thank you for joining me for another mini message. I'm Charlene, and this is Chosen and Accepted. And remember that you are chosen and accepted by God. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.